Everyone, welcome to this webinar. My name is Marty. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pylon, as you likely already know, and real excited for this presentation. So this is a duplicate of something that we actually did live in Denver, where we went through and we went to this customer success collective event, and we kind of, went and poured our hearts out essentially in how we think customer success and AI are evolving in this new world that we're in. So it's going to be a duplicate of that. Before we get started, if anyone wants to mention in the chat where they're from, maybe you can say company or you can say location. That kind of makes this more fun. So if anyone wants to put that in, um, I am currently in one of our San Francisco offices that is a block away from the ballpark, if anyone knows where that is in the Soma area. Yeah, Cassie, who organized this webinar, also in the same building, although she might be downstairs, also San Francisco. Jeff in Arizona, Lorenzo, who commented before we started, Sarah, Toronto, Pebble, cool, Mina, Motor in Finland, very cool. Andy, the fine state of New York, it is quite fine. uh, Shongde Shonget Zai. I hope I definitely did not pronounce that right. But from Zimbabwe, but typically in Toronto. Oh, from Brex, cool. Gail from Atlanta. Oh, Tony, hey, I know you from San Diego. So yeah, we can get started from this point and Eric in Minnesota. Thank you all for participating here. But yeah, the point of this talk is we noticed a lot of people were talking about customer success, and it doesn't feel like CS in particular has been caught up with all the entire AI revolution that's happening around us. So we all use ChatGPT or Claude every day, but where are the AI tools that are coming for CS? So this is going to be a presentation on what we how we see the future evolving here. So yeah, you already know me. Uh, and so yeah, first off, how we got to this point as Pylon. So a lot of you know us already as kind of the Zendesk killer customer support platform, but we actually have evolved over time into this position where we're really well poised to take over or build out customer success functionality as well. So what started to happen, we've been around for 3 years. A year into the company, or actually, I'd say 2 years into the company, we were reaching around 1,000 customers, and we started to have to scale our own customer success motion. So, when you get to that scale, customer count, you're like, okay, throw people at the problem and try to scale with people, but then it wasn't enough. And so we went out and we bought a customer success platform. Vitally is the specific one we tried. It didn't work for us, and we were kind of stuck. We're like, how are we going to scale this customer count? How are we going to handle making sure people get onboarded properly? How do we get account context? All of these things, and we were struggling a lot. And what we did was we realized, okay, well, we have all these customers. We also have this product that we've already built to help support teams scale much faster. What if we could take some of the data that we collect there, since our B2B support platforms plugged into all these different data sources. So all the call recordings that the AE closed, excuse me, all of the conversations our migrations team has had, all the success conversations, and what if we could use all that data and start turning it into more of a success workflow for ourselves? And so we started taking what we had built, which was first the support platform. Let's put support over here, and using that customer context layer that kind of aggregates all that data across sources, and make that useful and valuable to scale our own customer success motion. So we went from, hey, support is not the only thing that we need to solve right now, because frankly, the difference between B2B and B2C is it's more cross-functional. So you have all these different cross-functional teams that work together. How can we figure out how can we help more of these cross-functional teams help customers scale? So yeah, we now are 1.5K customers. We have customers across a varying range of motion. So we both have like a scaled motion and enterprise motion that we have to solve for. And then, yeah, we've been AI native from day one. So the current state for a lot of you, probably if you're on a customer success team or leading one, is probably either have a customer success platform like Gainsight would be, the default. You have like a customized view on a CRM. So one person I spoke to at a conference recently had a Salesforce view where they're looking at their list of accounts in their book of business, and they have 1,000 accounts that they are looking at. And I asked them, I'm like, how do you prioritize them? How do you know who to focus on? And they basically sort by ARR to see who their highest revenue customers are, and then they just prioritize from the top down. And that does not make a lot of sense. And that definitely isn't a way to focus on the right people at the right time. And then also, how are you going to have context on those accounts as you go into them? So you either have a customer success platform that is, not AI native, that is probably not actually giving you good views or summarizing your customers in a way that's meaningful. Definitely not agentic. CRM, kind of the same problem. Um, or you might have like a Google sheet where people store data about their accounts, or oftentimes even nothing, and you're kind of just like note taking. And so the result is what you end up having is probably some sort of expensive manual note taker where you're just writing down notes, either into like Salesforce notes or your CSP or Google Sheets. Most people we talk to, including ourselves, could never actually implement a CSP properly. So it kind of becomes this like pipe dream where lots of promises. Oh, okay, I'm going to have my customer health score or my churn risk score, and then it just never materializes. And it's hard, even if you set it up once, your product changes, your workflows change, and then it's hard to get the resource on the data team or engineering team to keep your CSP up to date. And then yeah, definitely not AI native. So this is kind of the world of CS that we see today, and um, lots of problems here, including for ourselves as we thought about solving it. And so here is part of the problem: is data is super fragmented right now. So this is a common set of like categories of data that we typically, one, for ourselves want to see, and then two, most of our customers are in the same boat. You're typically going to have, hey, you have your CRM that has a bunch of pre-sales data. You have some ticketing information, so whether that's happening over chat or email or ticket forums or some new channel like Slack. You have your traditional product usage data, which might be coming from a data warehouse or might be coming from a product analytics tool like Appendo. And the usage data is the one piece that usually people do have integrated if they have their customer success platform set up, and one of the strongest indicators of customer health. But it's just the quantitative side, and we have all these other qualitative sources. And so call recordings end up being the super valuable source, but has never been used properly in a customer success workflow. Emails, even if they're you might have your own emails syncing into your CRM, but is it digestible? Like, can you go into an account and see truly a summary of that account and what they care about? The answer is probably no, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like. So, problem is you have all this data across all of these sources, and there's actually no easy way to capture it and create what people have historically called a customer 360 view. But in practice, like that's never materialized. You usually just have, hey, maybe it's integrated, but it doesn't summarize that data for you. You can't actually go to any place either in your CRM or your CSP and be like, who is this customer? Who are the champions here? What do they care about? What are their goals and use cases? Instead, you see just kind of a timeline summary of this account that's not really useful, or you see a bunch of custom fields. So we kind of looked at this and we're like, okay, well, if we could take all of this data that exists in all of these different places and we could actually run AI on top of it, what if we could create account views or even signals based off of it to tell us the answers to all the normal questions that a CS team wants to hear about? So, this kind of leads into, okay, we have all this data about accounts. It's right now usually not even centralized, but if we could centralize it with AI, now we can ask questions. So the way I like to think about it is split it out across an account level, across a book of business, or across all accounts. So on the account level, we want to know, okay, if I'm looking at one of our specific customers, what is their sentiment? What are their priorities? Who are the contacts on the account and what do they care about? How can I prep for a meeting if I'm about to hop into a call? So an example of this would be, hey, let's say that example I gave earlier, where you have 1,000 accounts that you're managing, you want to be able to hop into any of them and understand exactly the high level overview of who they are. And today that's not really possible, but if we were to integrate all that data from the previous slide, we should be able to create some sort of account level view. The across a book of business, it's think like, I'm a CSM, I'm asking the question usually, who's at risk of churn? That's like the most common thing that we see right now. People are trying to understand who's high risk of churn, and then what they can do about it. It could be if you're commercial, who's upsellable, so who can I sell more product to, or more broadly, there's probably some sort of signal that you want around who needs help. It could be, hey, they weren't onboarded properly. There's a new product we're trying to make sure there's good adoption of, etc. So, hey, across a book of business, how do we create lists? And then across all accounts as well, how do we look at trends? So these could be feature requests that we're getting. So we want to work with the product team to push or to advocate and say, hey, our customers really, really want these set of features, or these set of bugs are really bogging us down. Or it could be, hey, what are the trends on us trying to upsell a certain product, or even implement, or what talk tracks are working. So we want to be able to ask those types of questions across the entire list of accounts as well. So this is high level how we try to break it down, and then I can show you now actually a live demo of how the kind of given all of these thoughts that we were having, all the data spread out, and all the questions that we want to ask, what we've actually started to implement. So I'm going to pause really quickly actually here before we go further. Do people have questions on um, these pieces, or anything resonate? Not necessarily resonating, or things they'd want more clarity on. It's usually easier to just see the demo, and then it'll answer all the questions. But um, yeah, the problem of kind of not being able to actually get these views, not being able to implement systems. That's one of the most challenging parts. Not having the data integrated, the data being in all of these places, and then of course the questions that you and your team want to be answering about your accounts. Okay, I'm just going to hop into it. So there we go. Thank you, Jessica. So let's go in here. We are going to share one window. Okay. Okay. So I think everyone should be able to share my screen. I'll pop things over here. So this is so one of the most common workflows your team is probably running is, hey, each CSM has some sort of book of business, and we want to understand who to focus on. Who is the priority account that we want to go? Oh, the window is really small. Is it small for anyone else? Oh, no, Gail's good. Um, so the workflow usually is, hey, I want to be able to go into an account, or sorry, go into a list of my book of business and prioritize a certain list. Now, the question is today, how do you do that? So it's that we probably have some list. It's probably sorted by something like last activity, or maybe upcoming renewal. Upcoming renewal, I think, is quite good, or it might be based on ARR. Our goal is to allow you to build lists that are prioritizing accounts based on who actually needs your attention, and based on the goals that you guys actually have. So if you have some sort of new product that you're trying to get people to use or purchase, it might be, hey, I want one list that's going to tell me who's most upsellable for this SKU. So the way we do that is we integrate with all of those different data sources that we mentioned, not just the quantitative, but for the first time, what LLMs unlock is the qualitative as well. So we're pulling from the CRM and all the activity there, the call recordings, the support tickets, the product usage data, the uh, emails that an AE might send. So the personal emails there all gets ingested for each account. And then what we allow you to do is create what we call signals on top. Now, signals are really, really cool. It's basically a prompt on top of the customer data. So I'm going to zoom in here. We're looking at one specific field here, and let me see if I can. I can't make that any. There we go. Make that smaller. We can essentially create prompts that run on top of all of the account data, um, unstructured and structured. So Tony calling that out, and be able to create signals on top of each account. So, for example, in this case, maybe we want to create a sentiment field, and this is going to run on top of every single account. What we can do is create like a select field and say, hey, AI, help us understand what is the sentiment of this specific each of these specific accounts. So I can go here. Here's the prompt that's actually running. So categorize this customer as an advocate if they express strong enthusiasm for the product, recommend it, share positive results, etc. Or maybe use the high risk detractor label if they express desire to cancel, dissatisfaction, anger, a lot of disappointment, etc. So for the first time, we can take all of the context. So, the support tickets, the customer conversations that the solutions team is having, or even from like a past call, if you adopt a new account, we can take all of the context all together. And then the AI will ask these questions and label the customers in different ways that we want. And so, yeah, Ryan, you asked a question on, here we go, the which key stakeholders have left the company. We can totally integrate if you want existing CRM data. So if you have that data being pulled in there, we can grab it. We don't have current native integrations into a lot of those like external third-party signals, but we'll be adding those soon. Or you can just plug them into your CRM and we can sync them in, and then these prompts can run on top of them. So it can just be another data source. Um, so uh, yeah, the you can create these different fields, and the common ones that we're seeing are, for example, one like sentiment to just understand overall customer happiness and creating lists that focus on the potential customer saves. You can also create all sorts of signals that tell you, hey, who's at risk of churn. And the way you would do that is the same way. You're just actually going to create prompts that, based on your customer data or your specific customer or your product, hey, what are the different uh, ways that we could verbally describe when a customer is at risk of churn? So we can just write that out for the first time ever, and then that's just going to run on top of all the data that we have. So that's kind of how that's going to work. So you just create these prompts, and then you can create lists that essentially help you prioritize. The benefit here is that um, one, we get the unstructured LLM data or unstructured conversation data that the LLMs can now help you use to prioritize which accounts to focus on, and then we can create these ordered lists. We can then also manage more accounts. So even if you have 1,000 accounts, which sounds absolutely crazy, ideally now you could have 5,000 accounts and then still manage them properly by just understanding, okay, who are the right people to focus on the right time, and what should I actually say to them. So we kind of have these structured signals that we could create. We could also create, for example, if we wanted something unstructured too. So if I add something here, let's say I want to add a new column, and this is some new AI field. You can actually go and create all sorts of things like an explanation of why they are at risk of churn. Could be an example. So let's say we want this to run only when someone's at risk of churn. We could say explain why they are at risk of churn. And this is like very basic. Obviously, for your own product, you would have something way more specific, but this is going to give us a really easy way to actually have like a text description of potentially why. And so this prompt actually may not be strong enough. We can try running it. And then that would actually look at, once again, all of that customer data that we have, and then actually give us a text description, as well as then just not just having the signals that we have here that are more structured. So you can create kind of these text explanations. So in this case, hey, slow support, setup friction, repeated bugs and workflows, etc. So you can not just have a structured health score, which would be super common, which again is still only the structured data. You can also have these unstructured explanations as well, and it's all promptable. So yeah, we would create for you like a list of churn risk, so customers who are at risk of churn, and we're building kind of a more agentic way to generate these as well. So you don't actually even have to create the prompts. Ideally, you just have a list, prioritized list of who to focus on. And this is kind of how we do that across a book of business work that we started with. The next piece is if we actually want to go into an account, we can actually click in, and this is where the magic continues. So we were just looking at a list of accounts. Now it's like, okay, if I actually want to go action on an account or I want context on an account, how can I do that? So the way we've done that is we've reimagined what an account view looks like, and this is meant to replace, often for the post sales team, any CRM account views. So imagine if you go to Salesforce, what are you going to see? You're going to see a bunch of custom fields. You're going to see this like list of activities over a long period of time. It's totally unreadable and not usable. Here, we're actually going to allow you to summarize and understand an account by just reading the summary of the customer. And so maybe to start here, we have something about their sentiment. So, hey, their sentiment is neutral and transactional based on actions. Their upgrade was polite. So it looks like they're kind of like a neutral customer. Here, what are their use cases? So they value the Slack-based support interactions, multi-time zone team assignment, SLAs and analytics, Microsoft Team expansion and integrations. And so, we can just like it would be so hard to get this data if we went into Salesforce, or we'd have to maybe ask someone or read through a lot of things and synthesize it ourselves. Instead, we're just going to get a full summary here. And the cool thing is, these are completely customizable. So they're generated once again by prompts. So I can click on this prompt button and see, hey, this is looking for the last 3 months. What is the customer sentiment? Focus on sentiment trends for the past few months, and do it in 4 sentences. This use case prompt tells the key aspects of the product that they value most and determine their objectives. And all of this is completely editable. So if I click edit here, we're going to see that these are just drag and drop blocks that you can bring in. So we can drop that in. We can drop in, whatever prompt we want. We can filter for segments of data, and the AI is going to spit out the results. Now you can have this for high-level overviews of accounts. We could have, for example, a handoff or a sales overview notebook. So let's say in a handoff notebook, we might want to focus on, specify rough moments during the sales process, and a CSM is going to then understand their what type of context they should have as they're starting to talk to this account. There might be their use cases or stakeholders. So really, really cool and really, really valuable data. And then if I actually want to understand the customer more, all I have to do is go into Ask AI, and I can ask questions here about the account. I'll pause here because I know I've been going through a lot, and I can answer some questions that have been asked throughout this. So Ryan asked about which key stakeholders are disengaged. This is a very easy question to ask. And you could create prompts here on the account view to get that, or even in that account list as well. So we could have one prompt that tells us, is our champion disengaged? Yes or no, and then we could have that be a signal for us. We could also, there was another question from Ryan on, can you ingest calls from Google Meet and Zoom or only from Gong? And so the answer is, we do integrate right now with a bunch of call recorders. I don't, and you can set up, I think, through like a custom integration, Zoom and Google Meet, and our solutions team could help you with that. And then when we analyze the calls, are you only analyzing transcripts? Yes, for calls, just the transcripts. I probably misunderstood the question there. If there's more. So yeah, is all this making sense for people so far? Cool. We got a thumbs up. Um, so yeah, basically this replaces your view for looking at a CRM. We can understand high level who this customer is. We can even dig deeper into any of these. So this one sentence was from a list of 2 sources, so we could actually go in and see what interaction we had here. And so you can not just rely on the summary. You can actually go deeper into the details itself. Okay, so that's one piece. The next piece is, so we've gone now from before, what you would have to do if you want to manage a book of business. You create a list of accounts somewhere. It's probably sorted by some metric that doesn't actually help us truly prioritize people. Like we would want to know, hey, who's at risk of churn, or who is upsellable for a product, or who needs more adoption. We go now to a world where, hey, we can just prompt those to create fields. We can sort a list by those fields, or yeah, sort of list by those fields, and then we can actually go deeper into each account. And then another piece there is going to be actually, eventually we're going to build out more kind of AI assistance for your team to be able to essentially approve sequences or steps that we would take to maybe save a customer, or even try to upsell them. So, hey, we know this customer's at risk of churn, and AI could suggest, here are the messages that we should send, and you could approve those or change those. So that's coming in the next 2 months. Alec is asking the question, are these features already available? The answer is yes, they are available. You need to pay extra or be on a higher tier to get access to these features in Pylon. So we have some defaults that are already exist, and the way that works is, you essentially get this basic overview notebook and then limited number of AI prompts. This AI is very expensive for us to run for you guys. So we have the basics running, and then if you want more custom fields that you want to create, or custom notebooks, or what we call these, then you have to pay for the account intelligence product that's on our website. Okay, there are some questions coming in. So can we configure individual adoption goals for each account using Mixpanel product usage data? This way, establish health measures for key adoption metrics by account. So the we would have to go deeper into that specific question. So individual adoption goals for each account. If it's like the same, I assume that what that means is each account has different adoption goals. Um, we'd have to talk more about that, to be honest, depending on exactly what you're trying to achieve. Mixpanel as a customer is the great news. So shout out to Mixpanel, but the product usage piece, and I guess maybe a couple things to note there. One, we do have a concept of projects and tasks for each account, and so if there are specifically like a list, and here, let me see if we can show you. So these some of these tasks are actually AI generated from calls, or you can have like more implementation projects that are getting created once you close the customer. So hey, we build a trigger that says when this prospect moves to type customer, and they're a certain type of customer, create a set of tasks that we want to do with them to actually onboard them properly. So the AI, once we prompt, could say, for example, hey, are we since it'll look at the task and project completion, we could say how far are we into the onboarding process. So yeah, that's one way. But Ryan, we'd have to go deeper into, I think, the questions that you have for that. Do you show past pylon conversations? Um, the Sarah, um, the yes. Well, it depends on what exactly you're asking. We show all the conversations, which are just the issues. So you could actually go there, or you could see like the list of activities. We show those as well. So yeah, you could see those here. So those are some questions coming in. I know there's a chat. So Marilyn said, we're seeing a gap where important discovery insights often captured in AI tools like Rilla are making it to CS. Is Pylon solve for that handoff, or is that still dependent on a process outside the platform? So yes, basically the whole point of account intelligence is supposed to be that we plug into every single data source. And so for Rilla, who's also a customer of ours, the we treat that as just another data source. And so if you are plugging the transcript data into Salesforce, we could sync it directly from there, or you can use Rilla, I'm sure would be able to, has an API. And if they do, it's very easier with Zapier to just sync that data into Pylon. And then all these summaries, all those account fields would actually be running on top of those Rilla transcripts as well. So it would help with that handoff. And the whole objective here is we're not just looking at a CSM conversation, we're trying to get data from the sales process or these other cross-functional teams. Okay, so that's probably enough on just the account views. Moving forward to more exciting stuff, I'm going to hop into what we call reports. And now this is one of the really cool parts of Pylon. So one thing we spoke about already was looked at the account level questions that we could ask. We looked at the book of business. Now, what if we actually want to ask questions across all our customers? And so this is usually going to be more for CS leadership. You might be relying on your team to answer questions about, hey, we're trying to upsell this thing, or we're trying to get this new feature implemented with all of our customers. How is it going? What's the pushback we're getting? And so you go to your team and you go ask them questions. What we want to do is enable you to ask those questions directly to Pylon. And so you can create what we call AI reports. And this is not just going to be some sort of chart report, so something that's more quantitative. It's also going to be qualitative. So the same view or the same interface that we had for asking questions on an account level, we now can run that on top of all your accounts or even lists of accounts. So for example, maybe we want to create a monthly customer health report. So I can either create this manually or use one of our templates and say, hey, for the past month, I want first an executive summary that goes through customer health for the month and highlighting key wins, challenges, and areas of concern. I want to know which accounts may be at risk based on issue patterns, sentiment, and engagement levels, and summarize the most requested feature requests, blockers, common feedback themes from customer interactions from this month. So all you have to do, instead of just asking your specific team or being in the conversations is just run these prompts. And this is going to ask these questions across all of those data sources. So this will not just look at, for example, the customer success conversations, it could even look at the support conversations and more because you're trying to answer questions about your customers more broadly. So you can write these prompts, you can filter for segments of your customer base. So let's say we wanted to focus on just people who are have been with us for over a year or a specific segment or even based on maybe an account ownership. So maybe we want to do this for a rep that we want to help coach. We can write these prompts, filter down. This can pull from, let's say, we want to look for a specific owner of an account. So I can drop that there. This can pull from Salesforce as well. And then we can just ask these broad questions and spit out these more text-based reports that we're going to get delivered directly to us on whatever cadence we want. So these are incredibly, incredibly powerful. I'll pause there for a moment. This making sense? Cool. Okay. Um, cool. So the last thing I'll show here, and Dominic saying the customer love report has been amazing. Yeah, we have something very similar, and other examples would be we're spitting out reports for yeah monthly customer love. We're spitting out reports for hesitations that people are having for using new products that we release. And so instead of just asking the questions across our sales team, across our CS team, across our support team, we're just prompting right here. Now, the last thing I'm going to show, which I think is really cool, and let me pull up exactly where I can show you that, is the product intelligence piece. This is that third box that we looked at earlier, where this is asking questions across the entire customer base. So I'll zoom in here a little bit. Um, so what this is if we go to the product intelligence part of Pylon, we're actually going to see an aggregated view of common workflow we all do, which is, hey, what are the feature requests that our customers are asking us for? So this is going to pull from your call recorder like Rilla or your emails. And once again, all that same data that Pylon is already getting access to and then allowing us to go deeper into it. So we can see here, hey, let's say my top feature request is our Salesforce integration. We can click in, see, hey, 87 times this has been requested, and we can see every single instance where someone requested it. So, hey, maybe here is a chat widget message, so more support question we got. Hey, here's a Slack conversation where someone asked that question. We can see every single account that's ever asked for it, and we're basically going to get an aggregate view of all of that data. So this is super, super powerful. It's an example of a common question that so many of our customers want that we just productized. And this should be able to allow you to operationalize this kind of loop that you probably have with your product team, where it's like, okay, what are the things that are people are actually asking for? And then once again, you can filter down on whatever criteria you want. So if you're asking, hey, what are the things that our enterprise customers want? Very easy to filter that down and then ask that question. Um, Ryan has another question. So, could you create a monthly team kudos report to highlight positive feedback from teammates? One monthly team kudos report to positive feedback from teammates. So, not for internal conversations where it's like, hey, how has my team complimented or other parts of our team? So, it would be more based on just the customer conversations instead. So, you could say, well, if the question is, oh, yes, customer feedback about teammates. Yes, you could absolutely do that. You could make a report that says, "Hey, summarize all the times that this month our customers have said good things about our team." So you could have that spit out, or even do like a weekly report on that, and that would be really fun. I think that people would appreciate that. Another example use case for the AI reports would be, hey, you want to show up to one-on-ones prepared. You could literally have a report that says, hey, tell me about the customer interaction that the CSM has had and tell me about what's been going well, what hasn't been going well, so that you know what to dig into. So you can show up super, super prepared. Um, cool. Let's see. So there we go. Cool. I think we're pretty good on that front. Maybe the last thing that I will